And that's a pitch for those of you that want to get involved in 108 Lives to come to our meeting on Sunday, where we are going to have a planning for the next fundraiser and the next trip over to Nepal to try and put these things into practice, a Bodhisattva's way of life into practice. Yeah. So we did a trip in 2011, we did another one in 2012, yes, 11 and 12. And now we're doing another one in 2014, and you're all invited if you raise funds for your ticket. We're raising money to go and spend over there and try and live this out of our context, because you get comfortable in New York doing your New York thing. Yeah, you pull yourself out and go to a place where you can't understand the language, you can't understand the customs, you don't understand the needs. Your mind gets a little disconnected, like you're not sure what solid ground is. And then you really get to see your motivation. Like there you are giving somebody food and they don't like the food you gave them. You come close to breaking some vows if you get the shits with them. So you have to perceive them in a certain way. So we're pitching ourselves in a place to do that. So this video is, I thought, okay, let's get us thinking about the first of the generosities, the first of the perfections, the perfection of giving, which is one of the focuses of the 108 Lives project. And then for those of you that want to come and play and get involved, we'll have a meeting on Sunday. I'll do this line. Let's see that. That works. And action. Can you turn off that light?
No.
Hector, which class is this?
This is 7 and 8. Yeah. Here we go. So this is giving in action. Did it work? There it is. Viscerally in people, something shifted after Nepal.
There's a natural process that occurs when you give, which is that you become happy.
I saw profound changes in the people that I traveled with.
I had those reality check on a lot of things that just happened there. We really were looking at real poverty, real problems, and living in the middle of it.
You had to retract from whatever pre-assumptions you had about what it is to help another and actually get real about it. It got us a taste of reality.
Our idea of what they need is different from what they actually do need or they feel like they need.
You really get purpose, you really get meaning, you get perspective about you. Because not only are we transformed, but we are now back into this world with all the luxury. And now we can really choose and pick what we do with this luxury we have.
I think the more you surround yourself with good people who are looking to do good in the world, the happier you're going to be.
Is it okay to get happy? Is it okay to find meaning? The people that got to spend time with other humans on the planet selflessly, meaning not focused on myself, got to feel joy. And we are so numbed and far removed from joy in our day-to-day existence that when we touch it, it burns. Because it's a transforming story. This is the only story we have on the planet. Get happy. So, get happy. Come to Nepal. If anybody wants to come to the meeting, it's on 12:30 on Sunday in Bushwick. Who's got the list? Do you have it? Can you keep a list? Can you keep a list?
The list of people.
Anybody that wants to come?
Yeah.
Yeah? So Birdie over there will take your names in the break. Highly encouraged. But there's one thing to listen to these advices from the Buddha on down, and it's another thing to make them yours. Okay? And to make them yours is when you really see A, your limitations, B, your true intentions. Like you think you want to get happy, right? Like who wants to get happy? Who wants to do the work to get happy? You know, like I don't know what the work is, otherwise I'd be happy, right? So then as you're stumbling through the work, you get to see your barriers. And then if you understand the nature of reality, how things come about, how they are arising, you see you are the barrier maker. And when you see, it's like you're moving through mud, and then it gets easier, you're moving through honey, and then it's like when you get to see that it was you, it's like it fizzles. And it's not like it's like, oh, it's so hard, or it's a little bit less hard, it's a little, things happen. You okay?
Yeah.
Things happen, and when you get
Things happen.
things happen over and over and over again. It's a cycle.
Is this Groundhog Day?
So here we go. Let's get pen and paper and tell you about Nyeje. Nyeje is what we call the secondary offenses. It actually translates, Nyeje means I did bad, I did something bad. Yeah. It's what the term they use for the root downfalls. For your information, you can do a root downfall in an afflicted way or in a non-afflicted way. So you could break a vow, you can make a promise to yourself, and you can break that promise, A, because you've got a overload of mental afflictions. You're angry or frustrated and you're clouded. And that's a whole discussion about how some of those vows get broken. And then you can also break them in a non-afflicted way. You're just a lazy person that doesn't want to do anything, and you don't necessarily have any kind of affliction, and you're just like, I just don't feel like it. You know? So it's not like you've overrun yourself with it. So both those can lead you to break a vow. So you should be aware of that. The first one of these is, forgetfulness comes under the non-afflicted as well, which is not nice. But here it is. 50. Here we go. The first one. Not offering the 3 through the 3. Is that right? Failing to make offerings to the 3 jewels through the 3 doors of expression. First of all, what are the 3 jewels? Jewels. Yeah? Buddha jewel. Because the Buddha is different to the Buddha jewel. Yeah? The Dharma is different to the Dharma jewel. The Sangha is different to the Sangha jewel. Right? Paul corrected me on that, and now I'll never forget. No. Do we know what that is? Does anybody not know what that is? Last chance. Thank you. Thank you. So, the jewel of the Buddha, yeah, the Dharma, these 3 things in Buddhist philosophy are the only things that can help you. But they're coded in Buddhist words, so we've got to peel away the Buddhist words. What is a Buddha jewel? Yeah? So the Buddha jewel refers to this thing called the emptiness of the Buddha's mind, meaning there is no self-existent nature over there in that Buddha's mind to perceive him or herself as a Buddha. That thing over there, separate from your perception, does not exist. That's empty of having that nature. There is no mind of the Buddha separate from you observing the mind of the Buddha. Yeah? Which means the nature of that mind, that Buddha mind, is empty of having that quality only. Right? Which means, that does not mean there is no Buddha or no Buddha mind. It means that because of that, there is a Buddha mind. And that's a story. That nature, the emptiness of that mind, is exactly the same, identical to the nature of your mind. Your mind does not have to be the way you experience your mind. It has no nature of its own. Just like the Buddha's mind has no nature of its own, to be that kind of mind from its own side, separate to your perceptions. Which means you can be a Buddha because you have exactly the same potential as a Buddha mind. That is a jewel because that can save you from getting stuck in this perception that you are this mind. That's a Buddha jewel. Thinking about that, thinking that because that mind has no nature of its own and something produced it to perceive it as an enlightened, aware mind, and my mind has exactly the same nature, it is empty of a self nature, Therefore, it has the potential to not just be this mind that I'm experiencing, but it can be a worse mind, or it can be a better mind, or it can be an enlightened mind. Because it doesn't have a nature, it is a changing thing that is produced by something. Understanding that production is dependent origination. The fact that the thing's empty is the jewel that saves you, the Buddha jewel. The Dharma jewel, Dharma is existing object, it refers usually to literature of the Buddha, etc. It refers that there is nothing that is self-existent at all, that every single thing, every object, physical and non-physical, is empty of having a nature. Not just your mind, everything. And if that's true, then you can experience everything as the ultimate bliss. That can help you. That can really save you. Because then if you're having a hard time and you understand that that thing is not producing the hard time out there, that it was produced by your perceptions forced on you, you can look at what to do to prevent that from happening. That can really help you. From you. Because you understand its nature. Understanding its nature and living by its nature, completely different story, okay? The Sangha jewel is the group of beings on this planet that you perceive to exist, real people, like the Buddha, who have realized this suchness, have realized this understanding, have seen it, internalized it, and are sharing it. There are beings on this planet, other than the Buddha, who have had an insight into this nature. We call it, in this terminology, seeing emptiness directly. Seeing the emptiness of all things directly. So once you see it directly, nothing can shake you from it as a truth. And you live your life according to that. Those beings can really help you because they can guide your journey as you unravel the bizarreness of your mind. So these are the three jewels. One of the secondary vows in the Bodhisattva ideal, don't forget, this is grouped in the perfection of giving. This is a morality that you choose to take on, because if you do it properly, something beautiful will produce. Where? Out there? It's forced, you're forced to perceive it out there, but it's produced by your mind. So one of the first commitments you do is you say, I vow that I will make offerings 3 times a day, or make offerings through the 3 doors of expressions to the 3 jewels. And what that traditionally means is we did it already today. We bowed 3 times before taking class. We did a prayer, we did something, at least 4 verses they say, yeah, of something to verbally say how awesome this idea of ultimate reality, the refuge that we take in the 3 jewels are. And then in your mind thinking the awesomeness of that. We just did it now. If what I said was true, the practicality that our world can truly change, you would be forced to see this as a paradise, as a blissful experience, if you understand its nature and you acted with the correct morality towards it. So just thinking of its awesomeness, talking about it or praising it or doing some kind of prayer and doing some kind of physical action. So failing to do that is breaking the vow. Yeah? So you make a commitment that every single day, every 24-hour period, you would do something with your body to remind you of the 3 jewels. Yeah? Do something with your words and do something with your thoughts. If you don't do that, you break a vow. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. Do you remember from last class, if you break a secondary vow, how to repair it? Because they're different to a root vow.
Was it you get 1 friend together?
Excellent. Yeah.
That's what you've done. And the primary ones, you have to get 3 friends. There.
The medium one, you do 3 friends. Yeah. If you do a root vow with a medium break, which is...
Oh, the primary one you can't fix. It's like...
Well, you can. You retake them. But what they do is they freeze your virtue that you can't get the first Bodhisattva booming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? It's like it freezes your virtue in this lifetime if you break them. But they're nearly impossible to break. If you do a medium transgression, which means you, for a root vow, you did that action with the fourth of the 4 chains, it's called a medium transgression, which is like a secondary vow. And that one you can fix with confessing to 3 people. And if you do with only one of the 4 chains, other than thinking it's wrong, you only confess to one person. Yeah, it's all in the book. You should look at the book. It's good. Okay. Here we go. We're not going to get through this. Yes, we are. We're going to get through this. Let's go to second. So let me just make sure that I didn't miss any questions. Good. Allowing thoughts of desire to go on. Okay. What this means is some kind of inappropriate desire. So what's the point of a Bodhisattva vow? What's the point of taking on Bodhisattva precepts? Big overarching goal. Why be a Bodhisattva?
Help others.
That's it. Like, you want to take care of the world, right? You realize the nature of where things are coming from. You are perceiving this world as being broken. You say, wow, with that insight, it's up to me to fix it. Yeah? And most of the fixing happens in you. But you've got to do some work out there, right? The way we interact with the world and everything forces your perception to see you fixing this world. So allowing thoughts of desire, inappropriate desire to go on. So inappropriate thoughts to continue. What would that mean?
Thoughts of anger, thoughts of
Exactly. Yeah.
stealing.
Just
thoughts of-
anything that hurts other people, that you see would also hurt your reality. Yeah? So if you're a monastic, they're connected to all their vows. If you're not a monastic, if you're a lay person, you know your schemers, your kind of desire world. Yeah? Inappropriate here means willing to do something negative to get it. Yeah? So, being Catholic upbringing and having, grew up in Argentina, I think instantly, if I have any kind of sexual thought, I'm in trouble, I'm breaking this vow. That's not the case. If it's appropriate and if it's relevant and it's beautiful, you should have them. If you're attached to them, if you have this attachment and you think that all your goodness comes from that, then it's inappropriate if you're willing to do something stupid to keep it. I was thinking as I'm preparing for class, it would be a beautiful project, it would take a long time, to grab people from different cultures and ask them about these vows. Because if you go to China and you have a discussion with somebody that's keeping this vow, and you go to Israel and you go to South America and people would have a very different experience of these vows, because it's for you, in your world, in your culture. So it's the same for you. You know your deal. You know what it is that lulls you into a false sense of security, and you're justifying yourself that it's okay to have that second and third drink. It's okay to continue to do this niggly talk behind somebody's back, and it's like, it's an inappropriate desire to want to hurt somebody. If it goes under the radar because you're so used to it, this is forcing you to watch it. Yeah? To watch it. You don't break it if you make an effort to stop. Halfway through or whatever. And I'll talk in a second about this thing called Nyemes, which is a list in the Vinaya of all the exceptions to these vows. And Westerners, me included, are really interested in, okay, do I not break it if I do this? So we'll cover that for the upcoming vows. But this one is fairly self-explanatory. Let's go to the next one. This refers to failing to pay respect to one's elders. And one's elders does not mean an older person. It just means somebody that took precepts before you, even if they're 10 years old. So it means that if somebody has had the wish in their heart and taken on a vow, a Bodhisattva vow, before you have, they are your elder in this practice. And when if they have good qualities, so assuming they're keeping the vows, not breaking them, etc., and they're worthy of being honored, you break this vow if through pride or anger or jealousy or so on, you fail to respect them. Respect them means you see them coming into the Dharma teaching, you make sure that they're looked after, that they have some water, or you take care of them like you would somebody important. Because they, and would that help them? Do you think that would help them? You doing some kindness or respect to them. Do you think this vow's for them?
That's not the ordinance. I mean, it's for you.
How is it for you? If you see yourself serving somebody that's got your commitment to help others and has addressed that commitment earlier than you.
Because you're planting karmas for yourself to take that vow eventually and to have someone care for you.
Well, this is assuming you've got the vow, because you can only break the vow if you haven't.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're not talking about pretending. That's good to pretend, yeah, because you could have that motive. But I'm saying you have the vow. We're talking now about you have the vow. What if you? How do you break it, right? So how does keeping this vow serve you? Is what I'm asking. You're close. Any ideas?
Placing more importance on it. It's just putting more importance on what you.
Of course, on the whole collection of vows. So if you're seeing here comes a Bodhisattva wannabe, yeah, some person that took vows before you, and you treat them with some kind of reverence, yeah. How do you get reverence for their good qualities? Your mind, first of all, is engaged in looking for good qualities, which means your mind has now spent a whole bunch of time thinking good qualities, good qualities, good qualities. Which means the result of your mind is experiencing good qualities, good qualities, good qualities, yeah, from others towards you, as well as you to the general others. But it creates this reverence for the entire collection of vows. You're saying, wow, this thing is so important. I'm treating this person special. What I have is going to grow to that specialness. You see that? It's lovely. Okay. These are also pertaining to giving, failing to answer questions. So fail to give an appropriate answer to questions out of anger or laziness. Let's talk about the niyamas now. The niyamas are the exceptions, right? So if you read the Vinaya, which there is a course in the Vinaya, which is all the precepts for monks, nuns, lay people, all the rules that you keep, morality rules to transform your world, there is this thing called the incident, which is usually, I'll cover it in a second, but there's natural vows, yeah, or transgressions, which is killing, stealing, those things that, regardless if you're a Buddhist or not, they're just bad for anybody on the planet, yeah? So they're the 10 non-virtues. And then you have prescribed morality, which is the Buddha saying, okay, I'm making a rule now, because usually somebody screwed up, yeah? So, and you'll read this through the Vinaya, a monk or a nun got drunk and then they did something stupid, and then the Buddha said, well, you know, as we're practicing these things, I think it's best to make this rule. And so the Vinaya rules come from that, and some of them are prescribed because of an incident, and others are prescribed to hold you back from being too busy and too frivolous and so on, just to contain your mind and body so you could step into meditative world and have an insight, right? So these are the second of the two parts of the prescribed. So I give you, niyamas are all the exceptions where this wouldn't apply, okay? So I'll cover a whole bunch of niyamas for here. So besides the exceptions that I'm giving you, it's also if you have a direct teacher that you've tested and so on, and they are really your teacher because you've done the investigation and you know they're studied and you know they're keeping their vows, etc. And if they direct you to do something other, then that's not breaking this vow. That's an exception as well. Or if circumstances make it so. Special purpose, that's called. Let me give you, failing to answer questions. This doesn't mean just Dharma questions. This means questions in general. And they pertain to, the exceptions are, if you're in a Dharma teaching and the person next to you wants to have a little discussion about something else, you don't break this vow if you don't answer that question. Okay? It's usually to do with teaching Dharma, etc. You're attempting to have an earnest conversation with somebody else, and somebody keeps interrupting and asking you a question. You're not breaking this vow if you don't answer their question. That's a nyemen, okay? You are listening to a Dharma talk, and people keep asking you questions. Whether it's about the topic or not, you don't break the vow if you think it would be disrespectful, etc. You would disturb somebody else listening to a Dharma talk if you answered the question asked. If you don't answer, you don't break the vow. Does that make sense so far? Am I covering it okay? Cool. It would upset the Dharma teacher if you sit there and have a little discussion in the background and you choose not to answer that question and not have a little discussion, you don't break this vow. Does that make sense? Good. Another couple of exceptions from a different source. You're very ill, so you're so sick you can't answer the question, or your mind can't form a question, and it's to give an appropriate answer, okay, to a question. You're asleep. So if you're sleeping and somebody asks you a question, you don't break this vow if you don't answer them. And okay, we're going to hear this a couple of times in future vows. Think about it for you, okay? With Bodhisattva, motivation, with the wish to help other beings on the planet, you choose not to answer the question because it would teach the questioner a lesson, okay? So you see that they're funny motivation or they're full of pride, and you're certain of this, and your wish is to help them remove that, yeah? Then you don't break this if you choose not to answer it because you're teaching them a lesson. Or if your monastic vows require you not to answer the question. So, for example, answers on the secret practices or tantric practices, and etc. You don't break this vow if you don't answer those questions. With the interesting thing about teaching somebody a lesson, we're so good at that in the West, like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Don't fool yourself, okay? If you have the tendency to want to do that a lot, and believe me, I did, at the beginning, probably still do. If you have the tendency to want to do that over and over, you're probably not on the right track. Yeah, if motivation is probably not to save everybody and help everybody and every living being. If you're forever, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Yeah? So usually people that use that for an excuse, my experience has been, tend to be people that don't really have the right motivation. Yeah? So anyway, that's worth considering. Any questions? I'm talking a lot. You guys are very silent. Yeah.
Well, can't an answer be silence? I feel like that's always in some Buddhist anecdote.
No, it absolutely can. I was going to do a joke there and not answer you, but I chose not to. I thought I would be a good person, and no, it absolutely. But you've got to be sure that that's not going to make the person angry. That it's really going to lead them to the point that they're coming to you for. And if you think about the purpose behind these vows, so it's interesting to get the vows the first time. You think, oh, they sound like restrictions. But if you continuously force yourself to think, how the hell is this going to get me enlightened? Yeah, how is it that doing this specific activity over and over and growing this into a habit that becomes uncontrived and natural, how is that going to force my world to appear as magic and beautiful? Imagine having all your important questions answered spontaneously. Yeah? Or imagine if it is correct through silence, getting a realization. So if your intention is truly that would be awesome. So for that, if you're sure, if your motivation is right, you're not breaking that vow if that's the correct thing to do. And later on, you'll hear this about some of these vows. One of the vows coming up is, if you're sure that silence would give them the thing, but you're being too much of a stickler and trying to keep your vows properly, and you choose to give them an answer, and you know that that won't lead them to insight like the silence would have, you're actually breaking another vow by not doing it with silence. Yeah?
Oh, good.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
If
Uh,
your intention is to help them,
yeah.
if your intention is pure to like lead them the best way possible, you're generally not going to be breaking a vow, or is it trickier than that?
No. My advice is, yeah, Jason Kappa's really clear. Don't get ahead of yourself. Practice the morality as is, as prescribed, and then have some freedom to, once you understand it, then have some freedom to do that. Yeah? We love to be special in the West, so like, I'm going to go to the exceptions first. Try and live a life of saying, people ask you a question and you want to give them an answer. Of course, what you're saying is true. The overall flavor of all the vows is to bring people to happiness. You know, that's the ultimate thing. If you know not answering the question is going to get them angry, upset, kicking and screaming, is not going to help them get better, then you're breaking a vow by not doing it. You'll get to it when we get to that vow of having to know when to do that. Good question though. Failing to accept an invitation. So out of a want to hurt or spitefulness or anger, etc., people are inviting you for a meal, people are inviting you to have some, or sharing some of their stuff, like giving you cloth or anything like that. And out of pride, you're too special or whatever, you don't accept an invitation. Here is the Niemes. You don't break this vow if you're sick, if you have another invitation, if you're already going somewhere, if it's too far or dangerous, like Bushwick.
So true.
I know. If you think the person has a bad motivation, if they have a bad motive for bringing you over and showing off or something like that, if you think their motivation is not healthy, you're not breaking this vow by saying no. Again, teaching them a lesson, yeah. But if you know out of compassion that this would do it for them, yeah. So when I try and go and see my holy teacher, sometimes he makes me wait longer than I like. And I sit there and sometimes he doesn't turn up. Yep. And I'm certain that the lessons I get at those times are the strongest and most beautiful, because I have built enough reverence for him to know that any slight negativity towards him burns me like I've just been dipped in molten lava. So it keeps me, so because I have that habit already, any kind of pride or why me, or you know, it burns through my selfishness. So lovely. Yeah, and when you step into that and you come out of the fire, it's beautiful. It's all your inner practice. Okay, so if you are sure that's what you're doing to another person and it would help them, and you're doing it to help them because they have pride or whatever like that, then you're not breaking this vow. Yeah. Do you see how these are tools for you to construct your world from now on based on wherever you've landed up to here? It's like we've all been thrown, and some of us have reached here in this aspect of life, and some of us here in this aspect of life, and we're all bound for that one cliff, and some of us don't know when it's coming. And before we get to that cliff, you get a chance to work with these things that hopefully can remove the cyclic pattern before you drop the cliff. And if it doesn't, you can at least remove huge chunks of negativity that the next bastard in that holds your mind doesn't have to deal with, right? So it's like you're passing yourself a gift, yeah? At least that's how I like to think that.
So otherwise we have to go to every Facebook event we're invited.
Well, Geshe Tashi got invited to go to Florida. He went to Florida. He gets invited. He goes.
He really does go.
He goes everywhere. And I forget that if we know these vows, we should be careful about inviting them to really silly things. You know, like come hang out with us. But, you know.
He's like the busiest person I know.
He is the busiest person. So many of these vows are focused on the monastics, yeah, because the Buddha did, but they also apply to us. So, or they do apply to us. What else are the nyemes for invitation? Teach a lesson, or it would divert you from another virtuous act. So, you know, I could have gone to a bunch of Halloween things tonight, and I would have, let's cancel class and go to thing. Well, if I accepted those invitations, and they diverted me from doing this activity, which I think is infinitely more meaningful for me and for the people around me, I'll break this vow. Yeah, even if I said, you know, it would benefit other beings. You know, you were gonna ask.
Yeah, isn't this vow working really when people see you as a teacher? They invite you because they see you as a teacher. If they don't invite you as a teacher, it's different.
Well, no, we are all, so the reason I said that is because Jason Kappa talks about these vows like that because he's addressing monastics. Yeah? Any monastics here? Right? Secret monastics? No. So we have to apply, this applied to us too, right? And so out of this commentary from Jason Kappa and then Nagarjuna's commentary, etc., we have to get advices on how do lay people do it. The vow applies to layperson or monastic, but the detail about the examples in the nyemes are mostly around monastics or address monastic situations. But here is the thing. All these beings in this room are making some kind of beautiful effort to improve their life. In a deep way, not in a superficial way, I'm getting more makeup and I'm getting pec implants or, you know, you are all, in every aspect of your life, being watched by other people to see if you succeed. You know, is this Buddhist stuff helping you? You know, they're calling it that. Or, you know, your weird meditation thing, or you yogi freaks. Or, you know, there are more eyes on you than you recognize. Way more. So every action that you do is being watched in a hyper kind of way. And not out of malice. It's because people desperately want to find the thing. And they, you know, it might not look cool to meditate and do this kind of practice outwardly. But I tell you, if you figure it out, if people see that you are happier, they will flock to you. And so you have the response. You are a teacher. You're just not dressed up and sitting in a, you know, this is not the thing. The thing is the job that you're going to. The family that are watching you. My mum watched me for 15 years before she came to a Dharma talk. You know? My brother took refuge vows. My mum did yoga with Geshe Michael now. My sister, who's a devout Catholic, calls me up and finds out debates that she can argue with a monk about. She's like, you know, I don't believe this crap that he's teaching me. She's saying to me, how you Buddhists do that? And so she's digging. She wants to know. Everybody on this planet wants freedom from this thing that they can't name. You're getting close. You're like... Every action you do is being watched. You are the teacher for the beings in your world. That is what it means to say your world. It's not like the whole planet full of ants, you know? It's the people you hang out at work and you treat in a certain way. And every action they're judging. Is this path that you're trying, could I get some? But they're not going to jump in there until it works. You know, or they perceive that it works. So that's my answer to that. Yeah. So yeah, you have to accept it. When you think about it, you promise to help every living being, right? And if you think it's going to help, you should go. Yeah.
What if you're at home and you're just like having a mental affliction
Yeah.
and you don't have the energy to
Yeah.
be a role model.
If it's laziness, you failed. If it's pride, mental affliction, you failed. If it's anger, you failed. If you want to hurt other people, you failed. But I know I'm not kind, right? But there is in all these vows, and it's really clear that if you are exhausted, if you've done great efforts, if you've put in your effort and you need rest, and that's a virtuous activity. So that's good, yeah? So if you really are doing this, if it's not out of being lethargic and going, if someone says to you, it would serve me if you came, please come. And you're like, don't feel like it. Plus you're ugly. Yeah? That's sort of breaking it down. Yeah? Our job, if you take these vows, is to help people without discriminating. This is your planet now. The Bodhisattva path says, I'm going to act as if every single living being is my own child and someone's just thrown them in a pit of burning coals. And this feeling you get to get them out of that, that's for everyone. So you have to go. But if you are exhausted, if you can't save more kids out of the burning coals because you go to this thing, if it prevents you from preparing your class for tomorrow, if it prevents you from being healthy at work, etc., that they're all regenerative activity that's healthy for you is good. Yeah? Because you've got this longer term view. So don't get stuck in, I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do that. Because if you get the I have to thing, then it's not really for the benefit of others. Yeah? Does that answer your question? Yeah? Bottom line is, you shouldn't continue doing things the same. You should be doing something different if you want a different result. That's like really basic. If you want things to be different, you might have to put different mix in the soup. Yeah? If you want it to taste different. If you want it the same, keep doing the same and use rationalization for every one of these things. It's a hard thing because then you got to do it. You know, I'm not watching you. I don't know what you're doing. I wish I could, help and give you experience, but I can't. When you're alone at home and you're like someone invites you to something and like boring, But the Nyeme was, if their motivation wasn't good, if it wasn't going to. So, for example, someone asked Geshe Michael in the 90s for this one, I think, if I know that. So we get lots of invites in Bushweek parties, yeah? And some of my vows are like no drinking, no intoxicants. And I mean, you walk in my hallway in the Opera House loft and you've got to duck to get away from the weed cloud that's just above head level. If you walk there, you're stoned. If you walk there, you're not stoned. And so we've got friends in those places. We love our friends there. But if it's going to be like that, and I'm not really going to be of benefit, then I'm not going. I've got other things to do. Regenerating myself is okay, and that's okay. It's healthy. Yeah. So you were going to ask?
That was the question.
It was your apartment, right?
My party, they didn't come.
Let me just get through 4 more vows. Failing to accept gold and the light. This refers to failing to accept anything of value at all. The other thing that's important about these things is there's a special relationship between practitioners or monastics and their sponsors. If you're a monastic, someone's usually taking care of you financially and the like. And that relationship, you can't get attached to it, you can't want it, you can't hint at them getting money, you'll get more vows coming up. But if people are offering you stuff, you have to accept it. And then you have to use it for the good of others, right? If you don't accept it out of anger or hurt or pride or, you think bad association or just laziness, you break this vow. Here are the exceptions. If you think you will get attached to it, if you like it so much, that I really want that, yeah, then not accepting it would not be breaking the vow. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you think that the person giving it to you might later regret it, so I've been in situations and I've seen people get super excited about this whole thing of Lama devotion or whatever, and they, out of a genuine nice feeling, they want to give you everything. If you look at them, you know, I've seen someone like you before. You don't say this, but you're realizing this. If you think that person would be worse off financially because of it later, would have some kind of regret that will last longer than the instance of giving it to you, for example, that karma is on them. They have to live that horrible karma. So you should not accept it then. You should not engage in the accepting of offerings to you as a person, as a friend, etc., if you know it will harm the other person in some kind, either regretting it or it will make them worse off financially, or it will create a problem for you if you have it. Yeah? So if you have an addiction and somebody offers you what you're addicted to, you shouldn't take it. It's like pretty simple. Okay, here we go. Failing to give dharma to those who wish it. Any objections to that one? Didn't we have something similar in the root vows?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Do you remember?
And teaching MTSs.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So this is that. The other one had the motivation of attachment. Remember, not sharing your teaching because you were attached to your knowledge and you didn't want the other people to get better, etc. This one is anything other than the motivation of attachment. So the motivation to hurt or anger or pride or laziness or anything other than attachment. It says. The exceptions are if you're sick, if you want to teach them a lesson, if someone's asking you for stuff because they want to criticize you publicly and you see that this is the way they're going to use the information that you're giving them, if you think that person is being disrespectful, if you don't think they're going to use the information correctly, I said that, if they're going to teach it to other people without really knowing and cause some harm in the way it teaches to people, this is particularly relevant for the more subtle teachings. If it'll develop wrong view in them, if they're not sitting properly, oops. If they won't follow what you teach, so if they're sitting there going, oh, please tell me how to meditate, and you know they're not going to do it. Yeah? But can you tell me again how to meditate? And you know they're not going to do it. It's okay, you don't break this vow if you don't share that information with them. Obviously the secret teachings. Or if they have a condition and that condition will be made worse because of what you shared with them. So they're all the vows pertaining to the perfection of giving stuff and accepting stuff. Yeah? The next ones are in relation to the perfection of morality, and I told you about the natural and the prescribed vows. So the natural ones are the ones that refer to everybody, like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, coveting, etc. They're true for every culture. They harm everybody. Then the prescribed ones are the ones that are maintained for others' good opinion of your path, like I was describing before. People are watching and doing something that would break somebody's opinion of that because you did something that you just got drunk in front of everybody, and then they say, well, this path is just like everybody else. Everyone says one thing and then does another. There's a whole set of vows around that. And then there's restrictive vows, which are the ones that are supposed to contain us a little bit from being crazy and out there, and really to bring us home, get rid of possessions and be with yourself and create an environment where you could really connect with that place, that platform that can lead you into an ultimate sense of things. So we'll talk about those when we come back at 9:05. Yeah?
Guys, a lot of these hinge on the fact of what you think or what you feel. And I guess the question is, how can you trust yourself?
Yeah.
And or maybe does that even matter? Because as long as you feel like you're coming with the right intention, is that okay? Versus really knowing yourself and really knowing where that feeling comes from.
You're the only person that can trust yourself.
But you're saying, what if you got the wrong idea to start with, right? You're saying, what if I'm skewed somehow?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
It's still good intention at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a good intention and do a harmful action, and you will get a good result with what is perceived to be a harmful action if you know that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, if you're certain of it. Like cutting somebody that's a bad thing, right? Cutting somebody's arm. But if you've seen that they've got a snake bite, and the only way you can save them is to cut open their thing, then cutting is not a bad thing, right? So there's no nature of badness in the act of cutting flesh. But 99.99% of the time, if you cut flesh with a knife just because, it's bad, right? So ultimately, you are the only viewer of your mind. So if you're not crazy, if you're not drunk, if you're not overcome by horrible desire and crazy mental afflictions, you know what you're experiencing. You're experiencing a beautiful thing out of this life, a neutral thing out of this life, or a negative thing out of this life. You know that. You know that this feels good, this feels bad. There's no other experience that you're having. If I tell you that you're having a different experience, you're still having the experience you're having. There's no one outside of you that can tell you your experience is this or that. The Buddha has had an insight into the ultimate nature of things, and he said, look guys, your mind is creating your world. These three flavors, positive, negative, and neutral, come from your mind. Externally, it appears as if the nature of those things are out there. But when you analyze it, under analysis, you can prove that every experience you're having is at least labeled by your mind. Yeah, some people like having sweets, some people hate having sweets. It's not in the sweets. It's in something you projecting that thing. Working with that machine, which is only internally, is your freedom. There's no one else that can come in for you.
Not to belabor the point, but I think that's where like the practice of having a book and the practice of having vows is so powerful, because what happens is we're not really aware of this stuff, and we function not aware of it. And then the vows and the practice of just looking at it starts bringing awareness to it. So you become more aware of the states of your mind.
It's beautiful. It's like you have something there that you're writing these things in, and this becomes the guidelines, but you get to see, oh, am I really that? Did I really think that? And then in the opposite, you're like, I'm pretty awesome. Like I have some really beautiful sides to my life. And I have all these happinesses. And I can keep them going. And I can share them. I mean, it gives you both, what to correct and what to grow. And it's lovely, there's no one else. So let's take a break back. Let's say it's 7
We
past.
have 2 announcements tonight.
Yeah.
Linda?
I'm here. Hi, I'm Linda. We're speaking of Bushwick a lot. I have a cafe in Bushwick called Little Skips, and we're going to be doing a fundraiser on Friday, November 22nd. I know it's a little bit of a trek, but I wanted to invite everyone officially out there. It's going to be an art auction. There's going to be raffle prizes, a DJ, pretty much like a party. And it's going to help raise money for the 108 Lives project that Hector has founded. So I do invite everyone to come out on Friday, November 22nd.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a good party. So if you just want to party, you know how to throw parties in Bushwick. So I know it's a little dangerous, but if you guys go in a group,
come in a group.
Go in a group, it's okay.
Trains are easy. The L train or the L train to Morgan or the JMZ to Myrtle Broadway.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And I want to cordially invite you to another party, December 7th, right here in the house, to support the house. There's going to be live music for it's a fundraiser, and it's our annual.
It's also a silent art auction. So
Yeah, pick up a flyer and just look over if there's anything you want to do, and it could be like bringing a plate of cookies. It'd be great.
I
And
have,
you just sign up. Yeah.
I have a list, the sign up sheet for, we need silent auction items. So if you want to donate something that's value price between $30 to $300. We also need people to help us cook food to donate for dinner, snacks, entrees, appetizers. We need volunteers at the festival. to help us with, and then before, like, promoting it and stuff like that. And then we also need
Promotion.
volunteers to donate like skills and services such as like
Well,
if you're
musicians. for
musicians,
example. We have a tarot card reader coming, or if you're in a booth.
if you're a magician.
Yeah, or a musician, yeah. Yeah, this could be great. And we just found out that Venerable Insak is gonna come and give a teaching.
Oh, fantastic.
On probably.
The perfection of giving.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Please come to that. He's an amazing, he's my first meditation instructor, and he's incredible.
Oh, the sign-up sheets are gonna go after class, so.
And we need you to come and shop. Give your Christmas shopping a chance here instead of going to Macy's and cutting up a silly coupon.
Yeah, or be a vendor. I think they're also, if you guys make crafts or anything like that, or have artwork, or make artwork, they're looking for artwork to be auctioned off, and vendors, if you're making little, like, tote bags, or little, whatever, carvatella, they need vendors as well, so it's gonna be like a little holiday bazaar. So if you guys are interested in that, you'll be making money. There'll be tables out here that you can hopefully sell your things to.
So the goal is to fund the 3 jewels,
Yeah,
because this place runs on donations only. So if you can expand the community by inviting friends and family, it's your community. There's nobody, there's a whole bunch of other groups that come and meet here. We're just a specific group. But on Tuesdays a different group, on Wednesdays a different group, on the weekends a different group. So if you want to expand what this feels like to other friends and family, invite them. This is a good opportunity to mingle.
And there'll be a performance by Bon Jovi.
And Lady Gaga.
And Lady Gaga.
Ferenc will perform.
Ferenc will. You be kind enough?
You are
Yeah.
performing.
He is, yeah.
I'm probably gonna end up performing with
And we
you.
got it.
You are great. Well, please, it's rare to get humans together to do nice things like this. Yeah? And this is fast disappearing, like the mists of Avalon are taking over the magical world, and all of a sudden England was born and we forgot magic and wonder. Like that, because of all our busyness, these teachings are not accessible to everybody in the strictest and truest sense of the word, that is practical and meaningful and useful in a secular way. So this place keeps that alive. You are the place where it's kept alive. And there's not too many of us. So please come and please expand. Yeah?
Is this one of those invitations that if you have the vow, you break it?
This is great.
Yes.
What day is it?
December 7th.
Yeah, I'm not here. I'm doing other virtuous activity. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Yeah, quick one. That's awesome. So you're playing? Yes. What a shame. I'm gonna miss it.
What?
I mean, South America.
Ah.
Yeah.
But what if we go to emptiness? Those people who are watching me because they want to know the path is worth it.
Right. Yeah.
They're coming from my own seeds. And the way they react is also coming from my own seeds.
Yeah.
So
I know it's a mind script, but that doesn't mean that they're not appearing the way they are appearing.
Yes.
They are appearing that way.
Yeah.
As troubled humans on the planet. That's true. That's relative truth. This is a confusion we all get. I still get it. I mean, big
I didn't say they don't exist.
Yeah.
I said I know they exist.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But I know they come from my seeds.
Yeah.
So how does it help me to know like the way they appear and how they react comes from my seeds? How does that help me? How can I use it?
Oh, I see. Knowing why is it that knowing their emptiness?
Yes.
Why is that good? Yeah. Why is that gonna
How
help?
can I use it to go to a higher level?
Yeah. They say that because you are operating at the level of the ultimate, yeah. So it's like if you're operating at the molecular level, yeah, you're going to have a complete impact on the organism. Yeah? If the organism is bruised or something, and you're working at the core of the atomic level, you can change it. Yeah? If you're working at the surface, it doesn't matter. You might reduce the bruising or something. You see what I mean? So our level of emptiness understanding, because it's the ultimate nature, it's more powerful because of that. You're working at the source, or you could use the metaphor of a river, you know, an irrigation thing. So the irrigation, you know, so the river comes up there, from up there, but it also comes winding through the rapids and the rocks, and then it's got a stream, and then the stream does the irrigation. You could be working here with the water, and it will change the water. But if you really want much more water and different, you work up there. You see what I mean? You make sure that's regular and that's fixed, and the pipes are working. And you do one change there, it changes all of this, like that. You want to flood this? One change up there floods this. Many changes here might flood it over time. Yeah, over here, a little better. Up there, instant. And I think of it like that. That was my question for the longest time. So what? So I understand emptiness or the nature of it. How is it that knowing that fixes things quicker? Why is that quicker? Because if I know if someone's hungry, if I give them food, that's food. I'm finished. Yeah. Why thinking about the emptiness of the food, the emptiness of them, and the emptiness of me? Why is that faster for you? You know why? Because it's the source. Not only that, I think also it's a trick. Like I have this thinking, you know. I think sometimes it's a trick to make everything about emptiness. Why? Because that is the source. If you perceive everything, oh, what's the emptiness of that, what's the emptiness of that, what's the emptiness of this, what's the emptiness of that, my mind's preoccupied in then I meditate. What am I going to meditate on? And if I see emptiness directly, it fixes everything. You see what I mean? So I think it's working at the source if you're really but it's also forcing you to be the source because it's also empty. Yeah, but it's a good question. No, but I'm saying it's a fundamental question. If you're asking it, it means you're practicing mentally. You see what I mean? If you don't ask it, you're just listening. Okay. So you should challenge it. Why? Why?
Just the fact to think, just the fact to think, the emptiness is fasting the process.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting the source. Thank you.
Let's get Shitashi for us a couple of pictures.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you. Okay. Did you got the event? You saw the event?
Oh yeah.
The event on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Nice to see you. I heard you lost your cell phone, but the cell phone they found they give it back to you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The taxi driver came back.
It was like the next day we were all together and they're like, oh, you lost the cell phone in the car. And I was like, oh no. But how did he give it back to you?
I didn't do that.
If you do that, your group gets involved, and so that means
how did they find you?
They get a Facebook.
How did they find you? Yourself? How did they find you?
So if they're on Facebook and you press invite,
a friend of mine was following my phone and they pick up the phone.
And they're highlighted.
Yeah.
If they've not been
And
invited.
actually, I don't remember the cab. I don't remember. I was speaking French to the driver.
Yeah.
And he spoke about me to the other guy. And said it was a nice guy.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you have to pick it up or did he give it to you? Did he drop it?
He drove. And he didn't even charge the night. Yeah, I drove to my home.
Oh my goodness. That's so great.
Yeah.
That makes me I lost my phone several times. I'm very just asked for my phone. I lose it all the time. But it's like, I feel so bad for other people.
The thing is, I didn't, now I saved all the numbers I have on it.
Yeah, you have somewhere else in case.
And I didn't that day. I didn't post since a year.
I'm assuming you've met many people since you get to know.
Yeah, so this guy is learning from me.
That's great. Well, in case you ever lose your phone in a cab one more time, you'll have all the numbers.
Scary. Thank you. Is that pretty cool?
Good though. I'm glad you got your phone back. That was
Yeah.
definitely when I heard it, I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, speaks on that. Yeah. So
I get overwhelmed.
So I've done.
I get stressed
out.
out.
Maybe that's bad. I've done this in my class. I do.
Did you need water?
Everybody gets
Oh, how do you know?
I'll get you. I'll be right back.
I don't look at my Facebook too.
No, yeah, you were. But I'm happy, or us, Steve, or I'm happy to sit down and it'll just take one click to show you. Click is where the event is.
I saw the event. When I clicked that, then I saw two.
You saw the event. Okay, good. Excellent. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. So that gets to everybody's. Yeah.
I'm a little old-fashioned.
Yeah. But, it's the new thing, because it appears on everybody's cell phones. So if you change it on Facebook, it appears on my cell. I'm on the train, and I'm like, oh, go to the 3 Jewels at 7. It gives you a reminder too, an hour before the event.
Wow.
The day of the morning of the event, it says today you've got to go to the event.
Wow.
So nobody's thinking. They're all like, oh, what is that?
They don't mind it.
They're just
Cool. Okay, thank you.
No, my pleasure. And I told Geshitashi I'm doing this thing for him on Tuesday with the source of all my put up there so people can read it.
Oh, that's nice.
He said good.
That is papers.
Yeah, passing out papers and so on. If they
Might get trashed.
if they wanted, there's a download that I would put up there. Yeah, English and Tibetan. On Geshe-la.
On that CD is actually a 3-minute movie I made during it.
Oh, really?
I bought a new camera, and one of the features, of course, is a live
Video.
I did
Nice.
that.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Have you given it to him or just me?
I showed it to Stephen.
No, I mean to Geshe-la.
Oh, no. I'll make him a CD.
No, I'll send him online.
No, it's 222 megabytes, 3 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. 1080 video.
Wow. I'll see what I can do. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, I needed it because like I became vegan and I was like, I still need it. But I think I'm gonna hopefully at that other event. I'm already donating for the one of the last fundraiser. She's up there.
Hey, you want some? You sure? You try some. Please, break some off. Yeah, you don't. You will. You only break about if you have about. You what?
Yeah.
You didn't want to come out of spite, anger, jealousy?
Pride.
Pride. Okay.
No, I had to show
No problem. You had a more virtuous activity. How was that? Yeah? The band is good?
Actually, that show wasn't that great.
Did you offer up to the previous if you wanted to get I don't know what kind of music.
I would love to, but I don't know variation of techniques that much music kind of still working on how to explain to people. I guess it's like rock and I have some stuff on that we're playing out.
How is this? Is this too heavy?
You're too heavy. No,
It's hard to teach and make it exciting, but it's really good to
really works. I'm doing some reading
on which one? Oh, good. That's really good. Yeah, that's a really good approach. Yeah, you're looking at the readings. If you have any questions, I have my teacher's notes, which summarizes everything you need to know.
I'm probably behind on some stuff.
Whatever you're landing. It's really good to have in your head. Can you get people in? Otherwise, you can just ask them to. How's Sarah? Yeah, I'm so good. You are a 90s rock chick.
I don't know.
I
brought a friend.
Hi, my friend. Brianna, you look awesome. You are Adam's family daughter. What's her name? Wednesday. And it's Thursday. Yeah, very good. I love it. How is this? Is this too heavy for you? This is your
there are definitely parts of it that are.
You're like, sorry. Okay, good.
So, yeah.
It's fairly dry because I've got to do vow after vow after vow, but at the end of it, we'll get to put it all together in a nice way. Bottom line is we. Not
In
today.
11 minutes.
In 11 minutes. We can do that. Yeah. You guys going to a party after?
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to try that? It's so good.
Probably not.
Definitely not vegan. Yeah. You? No, okay.
I have cookies for birthday.
You don't like coconut?
I'm gonna bring some for the holiday party.
But if you don't want
I could try one with coconut.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Right
I mean,
now?
no, after.
After? Yeah.
Coconut's not my favorite of things. But if you don't want that, I will totally take it out. Don't worry. Eat it.
Share it with you.
Okay.
Good ladies, ready?
If it's for him, I don't feel bad.
No.
I actually think I have.
No.
Oh, you
I want to see. Thank you. I saw your girlfriend with it on too.
He just wants to learn secondary vow 8 and then
he's out. Yeah, okay.
That's the thing I'm not a fan of. That's okay. I love how you laugh. You want to fight? In front of the teacher?
Actually, are we doing the announcement about the One White Lives?
You missed it.
Oh, you already announced it?
Yep.
Could you say it again?
Yeah. Okay. Everyone in? 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
It's good, right? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome back. So like I said before, reiterating the announcement, if you are interested, to come to Nepal in the spring and hang out with awesome, beautiful creatures, dance and play, etc., come on Sunday, 12:30 in Bushwick. What's your name? Birdie. Birdie will take your details. If you're interested to get involved in the fundraiser that Linda talked about in Bushwick, come on Sunday at 12:30 in Bushwick this Sunday. If you're interested to do any kind of volunteering or activity for 108 at all, come on Sunday, 12:30. We usually have coffee, we usually have croissants, we have a croissant chez nous. Yeah, and you can come. Yeah, come. And if you want the address, the detail, Birdie's got it. Yeah? So that's the answer. We saw the movie as well, Peter. Remember I talked about bad deeds that are divided into natural crappy deeds, which are killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, the 10 non-virtues. And then you have prescribed. The Buddha found it necessary to say, let's make a little rule so you guys can produce the result that comes out of acting in that way. And in the prescribed way, there are two modes, if you like. Ones that are designed to maintain others' faith in the path. What this means, if, like I said to Ferenc, if you're actively participating in this experiment to get enlightened, and your friends are watching you, and believe me, more than you think are watching you, and you are just forgetting your morality, acting as if it's just another day, and your activity would cause other people to lose faith in the idea that they too can get enlightened. Yeah? There's a whole set of vows on that. And then there are a whole set of vows that are trying to force us to stop acting like crazy monkeys and sit a little bit with ourselves and say, how do I practice internally, have enough space of mind to recognize the nature of things? And they are my vows that restrict your activity like having too many possessions, or being too busy, or talking too much, or etc., right? So, as a general rule for this next section, which relate to the morality perfection, the vows that pertain to morality, as a summary, a Mahayanist, someone in the great path, which is for the benefit of other living beings, should keep their natural vows, like everybody should keep their natural vows, right? Don't kill, don't steal, like you should be an example of that. For the prescribed vows that maintain other people's faith, or they're called that, you should do it better than Hinayanist, Jason Kappa says. So these vows are kept right throughout Asia, in Indonesia and in Thailand and the rest. And if you were to turn up there as a Mahayanist, you should be such an example that you're keeping it better than the people that our whole practice is based on these vows, is what they say. So you should do it better than that. Example being there's some vows that you might not eat food after a certain time of the day. And the Hinayanist practitioners in Thailand, etc., keep this very strictly. And if you turn up as a monk or a Buddhist practitioner over there, and they know you have this vow, and you decide just to have a nice snack, right? You would break some of the vows. You see, you should be keeping them perfectly for the sake of keeping other people's faith in the path. For the ones that are there to restrict your activity, and I'll get to that in particular for the monks vows about the thing called the abandonments, I think it's called. I'll get to it and I'll remember. And for example, it's like monks are not supposed to keep cloth for 10 days, for more than 10 days, other than to make their robes, and then they shouldn't own anything, right? So they should get rid of this cloth. If you are a bodhisattva, if you are trying to be a bodhisattva, if you are trying to live by the sake of everybody else, it might be a good idea to keep warehouses of cloth, so you could clothe people in India and so on, and so then you don't break these restrictive vows because you're doing it for a greater purpose. Do you see that? Yeah, so you'll get that flavor in 4 minutes as we cover the rest of the vows that pertain to morality. So it's good to get a little background on there is no self-existence in this activity. It's supposed to force you to step in between that line of what you think is and what your experience is, and somewhere in there, by forcing your mind to be suspended there, you should be able to plant the right karmas to produce an experience. So my advice from Nick's question is keep them as perfectly as you can. Don't think already I'm an expert at this and I can teach you a lesson and that'll be my exception. And if you're going to play with these, and I encourage you, play with them, keep them, pretend that you're on a 6-month experiment and do every single vow a day or something. See how beautiful your life can become. See your limitations of your experience on the planet. It will inform you about who you are and how much you really want to get free from suffering and how much you really care about other living beings too, right? And that can lead you to, that realization can lead you to change your behavior. And changing your behavior will result in your experience of the world being so. So it's important to know that rejecting a person with solid morality, I'll give you them quickly and then we can discuss them next week, because I won't get through more than morality, I don't think. So this is committed, this is if you know somebody has committed any of the 5 misdeeds, and you know what those are? Immediate misdeeds, the 5 heinous, killing your mother, killing your father, ahar, etc., etc. So if you know someone's done something really terrible, and or they have bodhisattva vows or any other vows and they've broken them and you've seen them. So you see this drunk monk everywhere and blah, blah, blah. Rejecting somebody with solid morality, if you do not spend time with them, if you reject them, if you ignore them, you break this vow. What this means is, Jason Kappa is quite clear about saying, out of all the people that need your help, these people need your help more. Because if keeping a vow pops you out of the suffering cycle, and these people have committed such an atrocious deed as to break that, they need your help more than everybody else who's like buzzing on life. Yeah? So don't think that you're above them, don't think or anything like that. This, when I hear this vow and when I practice this vow, I think of Jesus meeting Mary Magdalene, you know, and hanging out with sullied folk. Yeah? The point here, let me just make sure I'm not telling you. You're spending time with people that need the Dharma, that need stuff. If being with them will force you or cause you, so the exceptions now, will cause you to lose your morality or get addicted or whatever, then you've got to resist them. If there's evil and it's not changing, you have to resist them. But that's different from saying, I'm not talking to that person over there because they're lesser than me and they've broken their vows, etc. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay.
Question?
Yep.
Yeah. What if they are a threat to you? Like, what if they can harm you?
Then no. You're not breaking that vow. In fact, you should be protecting yourself and protecting them from planting those karmas. Yeah. So absolutely no. And it's very clear. It says if they are a threat, if they are harm, if it would be bad for you, you're not breaking this vow by staying away. You must stay away. Because you're going to become a Buddha. So the only way to do that is to take care of that precious body and mind. Good. It says, if you understand that they are evil, that there's real evil, you should resist. You shouldn't be badly influenced. You shouldn't be around. The exceptions are, you want to teach them a lesson. It may alienate way more other people than the person you're trying to help. So you have groups of friends who are into crazy things, and you go and hang out with them because you love them. They're great beings. They're lovely people. But being around them too much is such a thing that would deter other people from being around you that would really benefit from what you're doing. Then it's okay not to be with them. Yeah? It doesn't mean you mentally reject them because you understand where they're coming from. And or if your monks or nuns' vows require you not to be in the private presence of a woman, for example, or something like that. Following the rules, this is the 10 non-virtues of a monastic, which leads other people to develop faith. This is again similar to what I described before. So if you're in a Hinayana country and they have certain customs, you have to be the expert at the vow and morality and live by those rules. Yeah, you break this vow if you fail to follow the rule better than those beings. Yeah, so you have to keep those rules. So you have to be an expert, and the same for the 10 non-virtues. Let's see if there's any exceptions there. Nope. It's mainly to protect the minds of those around you. Performing deeds which are of lesser value to all living beings. This is, I hinted at it before, the example with the monk and keeping cloth. If you are getting too stickler about your Hinayana vows, and you're saying, well, I'm not supposed to keep cloth, for example, and these are the prescribed vows of the second nature. Remember the part B, the ones that restrict your activities, yeah, the things you abandon, the abandonment group. If you, as a Bodhisattva, you should be a busy person, feeding everybody and taking care of everybody and clothing everybody and making parties to bring everybody to enlightenment, and you should be doing that. Yeah? So to keep your Hinayana vows of being very sullied and staid and etc. and staying to the law of those, be part of the prescribed vows, when it's required, when it's not required, for example, if it would benefit many people, you must break those over this. Does that make sense? But that does not give you license to go and break all these other things. And this is where the misinformation comes from. This vow is where the misinformation comes from, I believe. Where people say, oh, I have a high vow, I don't need to do the pratimoksha stuff. It's a misinformation on this vow. It's if you understand that during a party in Bushwick with awesome loud music, coffee, etc., goes against your vows of keeping quiet, etc. But if you know that would benefit way more beings to connect with all the kids in Nepal, have the opportunity to feel fantastic by helping other people in the world and connecting with a bunch of other awesome humans, then go for it, do it. Like, you're a bodhisattva, you're supposed to be working for the benefit of all sentient beings. Being a good little Buddhist in your corner when the opportunity is available for you to blow Bushwick away with an awesome DJ, you know, it's you'd be silly. Yeah, does that make sense? Cool. A couple more. I'll probably go at 44 past, at 1:45. What is it? Did that burn up like fire?
Yeah.
When I put it? Good. Why did it do that? Because the most dangerous of the secondary offenses, okay? Failing to break a rule out of compassion. This is not licensed to do the hell you want, okay? It's actually quite the opposite. When Westerners read this, they're like, oh great, I had to break that rule out of compassion. You know, I don't have to keep any of my vows because I've got so much compassion, you know? So I don't, yeah. So this is the most dangerous thing. It refers to the 7 of the 10 non-virtues. It refers to killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. What else? These are the 3 of body. Lying. Divisive speech. Harsh speech. And idle talk of speech, right? Why would it refer to the breaking a rule? So it's saying, be careful when you're listening, okay? It's saying, if there's no other option, and you are having a valid perception, and there's all these other prerequisites, which are, you've been a bodhisattva for, it says, countless eons, I think. Let's have a look. Here we go. For trillions of years. You have extraordinary insight. Yeah, you have Mahakaruna, which is ultimate compassion, meaning every single being you look at is your child that's dropped into the fire and you want to pick him up. If you have that, then you can work with this vow. If you don't have, this is a niyama, it doesn't apply to you, okay? So Jason Kappa's advice. So it's saying that if there's no other option, if you have those 3 prerequisites, and you have to kill somebody because it will benefit infinite sentient beings, you must do it.
So how does somebody know if they have those qualities? Because it seems like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
if you don't know, you don't do it.
No, obviously, but
yeah.
If one of the requirements is having been a bodhisattva for how many trillion years, wouldn't that be nobody? I mean, I don't know anyone who's had a valid perception of themselves having been a bodhisattva for certain trillions of years.
Sure. Could it be possible that there is a person or 2 in this room who are having perceptions about themselves that are valid that you don't share?
You mean I don't have those qualities?
You don't have those perceptions of them having those qualities?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it possible to have an enlightened being in the room and you not see them?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't have the causes.
And would they have? And are they an enlightened being or a bodhisattva from their own side? Are they independently a bodhisattva?
No.
Could somebody else have a perception that they are?
Yes.
Does that make them a bodhisattva?
For the other person.
Excellent. Okay.
What?
For the other person, for the perceiver. Yeah. Could they themselves perceive themselves to be it? Could they be one of the other persons? Could they be the other person perceiving themselves as an enlightened being, or someone who has seen emptiness directly, or someone who has had countless eons, or someone who's a Buddha even, or in Nirvana.
Could they be the person having perception of
About
themselves
themselves,
that way?
yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, can you ever tell that they are having that perception?
No.
Okay.
I didn't mean it about judging another person.
No, I know. I mean,
okay.
So if they are that person, then this applies to them.
Right.
If you are not that person, if you don't share your own valid perceptions, that you have an understanding that you've had these vows for trillions of years, have Maha Karuna, yeah? If you don't have that perception of yourself, then you don't have it.
Sure. I guess maybe what I'm asking is, how does a person obtain that perception?
If you know, you know. It almost seems like that.
Huh?
If you know, you know. It seems like your person.
No, the question is now, how do you attain a perception of having Maha Karuna, have trillions of years as a Bodhisattva? Any answer?
Actually, I remember there's a teaching. The Buddha said there are 5 conditions you can kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
I don't know that one.
You have to be able to see all the past lives and all the future lives very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's only possibility to help them, and you have to be able to bring back to life someone after you kill them if needed.
Oh, okay. The one that I got from here. What is there more? Sorry.
It's
because Jason Kappa says that for this vow to apply to you, you must perceive yourself to have that thing.
So even if it took trillions more years, how would a being develop that? I mean, how would you develop the perception? Like if you were 1 year short, and this is the year.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Don't you have the perception when you see emptiness directly to see all of your future and past lives?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to the point where you see emptiness directly. You have a perception of yourself of having a certain experience of the ultimate. In that thing, you meet the Dharmakaya. You see yourself as a future Buddha. You see how many lives you might have.
I see.
And then through the path of habituation, I was trying to squeeze you to the path of habituation, the 4th of the 5 paths, that through those 8 bodhisattva bhumis, you will have some kind of this perception.
I see. That would be pretty clear if you had those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the bottom line for this vow, and that's why I made it with fire and exciting, is that it doesn't apply to us if you're normal people. Yeah? But it's interesting to know, because the story of killing comes from the Buddha before he was an enlightened being, where he recalls being on a ship with 500 people, having a perception of one person that was going to kill everybody. He could see the karmic ramifications of everybody. Yeah, he knew that it was the only way that he would be able to stop this misdeed for the person killing 500 people. Maha Karuna, right? Like, oh, if he commits this deed, he is forever. And then Jason Kappa adds, you must have the power to transfer that person's consciousness, which is what I'm imagining you were referring to, at the time of doing the deed.
Transfer their consciousness where?
Uh-huh.
I'm not planning on coding.
And also when the Buddha did that, it's proof of his extraordinary nature being a bodhisattva, because he took on the karma of that action as well. Yeah. It's not like he performed that action and there wasn't ramification for him as well.
So then they call that basketball trip to hell. Yeah, which means you're willing to have the most horrific circumstances from your actions, because he's a heightened being, so his karma is not just a simple result of that, it's a strong result of that. Yeah, so you're willing to go to hell to save these beings. Yeah,
and to save the person who would have committed it.
Exactly, and you're fully aware of the ramifications, and there's all this story you could apply to this story. You could say, well, it's the person's karma to perceive that an almost enlightened being would get them, and both karmas work together, etc. Anyway, they call it the ping pong or the basketball trip to hell, because it's like you have the result, but it is such a virtue that you pop straight back up. Yeah, something like that. Let me give you the quick, and then I guess we'll stop at this page. For killing, that was the story. transfer the consciousness, it's an immeasurable good deed. For stealing, you would do this if there's an evil government stealing from the people, and you have the power to steal their authority from the government somehow. So they gave the example of that. For sexual misconduct, it's very clear, it's not if you're a monk or nun, you cannot do that. You must first give away your monks or nuns' vows before you do that. But if it's a life-threatening situation for the other person, and the only way for them not to die is if you had sex with them. No, but this actually happened in Tibet. You know, they were derobing monks and nuns, and they were forcing them to have sex, through the Cultural Revolution. And so for the monks and the nuns, they would mentally give away their vows first. If they have this practice, if they understand these vows, which they did, they must have first of all given away returned their vows, the monks' vows, and then forced under gunshot by the Chinese, had to have sex with the nun, in the hope that they wouldn't kill her. Yeah, so this happened. This is not like it didn't happen.
Wow.
So.
But isn't there something about maintaining your vows even at the threat of death?
And if you think it's not going to happen, then rather than committing this deed, you would take on death. Yeah. That's good. But it's
What?
if you have the perception that by doing that action, she wouldn't get killed, yeah, then you should have sex. Give away your monk's vows and have sex. Yeah. If you think that they're going to kill her anyway, you keep your vows and you die. That's what this is saying. Yeah, hopefully we...
Isn't giving away your vows of breaking a vow anyways?
No, there's a ceremony for giving back your vows if you don't think you can keep them anymore.
A ceremony, but they have that ceremony.
You can do it in your mind, yeah, if there's no other option in front of your teacher. For lying, they're saying if you're stopping somebody from hurting someone drastically, and the only way for the other person to not be hurt is for you to lie. Divisive talk is if you see a person teaching crap, like if you all give me all your money, you'll be enlightened, and if we all have sex with me, you'll be enlightened, or something like that. And the only way that you can rip away the many followers of this group or something is by causing a schism in them, you know. Then you're not breaking this vow if you do that, if you see that's the only alternative. Harsh words is if it's the last resort and you have to stop them from creating a negative karma, and you perceive that there's no other option, no reasoning, anything else would help, then you should use some harsh words. And for idle talk, which includes a whole bunch of idle activity like playing music frivolously and hang out and do all that stuff, if it's going to benefit others, then you don't break this vow. Why are there there's 10 non-virtues, right? Why is it the 7?
The other 3 are in your mind. They're about your thoughts.
So yeah, what are you gonna do?
Harder to justify your like helping others.
Yeah, I'm gonna have what's one of thought? What's one? Huh?
Envy, ill will, and wrong view.
So I'm gonna hate you, yeah, for the sake of every living being. You can't quite do that, you know. Like inside, I'm just gonna think of you, of wanting everything you so I can help every living being. Mentally, that doesn't work. So they're excluded in that. Yeah. So let me quickly tell you about this one, and then we finish. Taking up wrong livelihood is, remember I told you about having a sponsor, right? So if you're a monastic, someone's taking care of you and you have a special relationship with them. So you look lovely today because you want them to give you stuff, trying to obtain things through flattery, you know, that's up there. Yeah? Or pretending, you know. Oh, I'm such a good monk, I'm such a good practitioner, I'm reciting all my things while the sponsor's watching, you know, and then they go away, I'm like, oh, anyway, you know, I'm not really living, I'm pretending to live a life so they would give me stuff. Through hinting, you know, like I'm really saw that you brought some beautiful cookies over there today. They look lovely, you know. I haven't eaten all day, you know. But if I'm not straight up for it and I'm trying to obtain things through hinting, yeah. Harassing somebody, forcing them. What else is there? Baiting. And that would be, baiting somebody might be something like, I'm going to give you, we all do some level of this, you know, if I give you some small gift, maybe, you know, you can give me a big gift, yeah? I know that he's got all these gifts over there, so if I give him one or two little things, maybe I'm going to get that great thing. And then there's another commentary that says trading in alcohol, trading in weapons, trading in silk. Why silk? To kill the things. Trading in any kind of animal or stock that you know will get hurt or slaughtered. Plowing the earth without any kind of thinking about what's in there. And just generally any kind of activity that harms others. You do not break the vow if you become aware of this, if you have this in your conscience and you're making efforts to stop. Yeah? So, you know, prostitution is the only way I can pay for my kids, school, etc. At the moment, that's the job I'm in, and I know it's not really helping people, it's forcing other people to cheat on their wives and husbands or whatever. But when I get the chance, I'm making efforts, I'm getting out of this. But for now, I've got to feed the kids and pay the rent, and you know, if you're making efforts, you don't break this vow. So when we come back, we'll do the rest of morality. I'm so sorry we ran late. Let's do a quick. Who can do it without the thing? Because otherwise I have to fast forward. Peter? Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami Digi Geokum Yeshe Soksokshim Sunam Yeshe Lejinwe Delampa Bunito Parsho. Thank you so much for coming to a class on morality on 2013 in New York City. May it have an impact in your lives. Play with it, go online, get the stuff. Want to come next Thursday? Exciting news. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you for the opportunity to teach. So we've got up to 12, right? 12. Thank you. Someone remember 12? Cool. Yeah, I will.